Hey everybody, welcome to the Grand Slam Call of the Month. Tonight, I think this is a very interesting topic. We have the tournament director of the US Open, Stacey Allister, and you are one of the most powerful women in sports.
No.
Yeah.
Most powerful people in sports.
All right, well, I'm just reading your
women
bio. Don't shoot the messenger. This is off her personal page. So most powerful.
I've got to update it. I have to update my my pronouns and so forth. Yes.
Okay. Update it. I just read what you had on a page. And also CEO of the WTA. So first of all, how did you, I just want to ask one question.
Former CEO of the WTA.
Former CEO. How did you decide to get into this line of work where you're heading up big organizations? What attracted you about this?
Pete, the short story is I was one of those underserved kids who was given an opportunity to play this amazing sport. I was given a racket, so I'll date myself. It was a Fisher racket, for those that can remember that far back. I was given 6 weeks of lessons and a membership at the Community Tennis Club. This was on the border of Buffalo and Niagara Falls, Canada. And that was the beginning. I started teaching tennis. That was the only way I could pay for my own lessons. I became a certified pro. And then I became the head of the tennis club at 18. And that sort of created this entrepreneurial foundation of the business of sport. And I read a book, What They Don't Teach You at the Harvard Business School by Mark McCormick.
Yeah.
And he's the founder of sports marketing. And really that launched me. I thought I wanted to be an agent. I'm really grateful that didn't happen. I thought I'd go to law school. In that book, there were two streams. You either got your MBA or you got your law degree. Anyway, bottom line, I graduated from Western University, went to the big city, Toronto, found my way to the Ontario Tennis Association, that same organization that gave me that Fisher racket and 6 weeks of lessons. And from there, got myself into Tennis Canada, became vice president sales and marketing, tournament director, went to the world stage for 10 years. At the WTA, and then I thought I was done with my career in tennis. And the USTA came knocking. Hey, how would you like to run pro tennis? How would you like to run the US Open? And if you're that little kid from a little town on the border of growing up watching the US Open, what a dream come true. So that's the story, Pete.
What a great start to the
I
call,
didn't know that
Gigi.
story. That is a great story.
It's an unbelievable story. When we think about, people ask me what I do. I tell them I'm in the sport and entertainment industry, and we change people's lives. We don't know how, but Gigi, your program of bringing people together at the Open, getting together on a tennis court, we change people's lives through the sport of tennis.
Yeah.
Everything I have in my professional life has come from the game, and I'm one of the luckiest people in the world. I get to now oversee this little event that ultimately generates a ton of money for our sport and really does change people's lives.
Yeah, I totally get that. And when I was playing, I didn't think in those terms, but now that
I know you players, you're like, you're pretty narrow.
Yeah, well, you have to be, right? But now, I just took 16 people to Wimbledon, and it was the first time bucket list item for all 16. And I had more fun seeing them, how excited they were, and what joy it brought to them than I did.
Joy. And it's an everlasting memory, right?
Yeah, and they'll talk about it forever. And now they want to go to the French, and it's just the sport is giving us so much. But that's a really good story. So I'm going to start with the first question, and then maybe there's some hot topics here. So we'll see how many we get through. But the first question is from Lisa Maryland, and she wants to know, what is the absolute hardest part of being the tournament director at the US Open?
Sleep deprivation. 5-set matches that go to 2:30 in the morning, and then you get back to the hotel 3:30ish, and you're really back up at it around 7. So,
oh my Lord,
that's probably the hardest
at the end
for me at this stage of the game.
So the tournament director has to stay there to the very end.
I stay till the last ball. Now there's a secret. We had so many late night matches in 2021 We finally had one of my team members say, "Come on, Stace, we've got this." So I did tuck back to the hotel before last ball, but I was still awake waiting till last ball was hit. We have an unbelievable team. Danny Zausner, the COO of the National Billie Jean King National Tennis Center. He stays. He's the guy that makes it all happen. And then, of course, there's always the referee, and they've got it covered. And we can phone call and Zoom in. But
who's the referee this year?
What's that?
Who's the head referee this year?
Wayne McEwen, who is the referee of Tennis Australia. He helped us out last year as well. You know, one of the things that we're working on is to have an American tournament referee. And one of the challenges that we have, our pipeline is pretty narrow with what are called gold badges and those in the referee pipeline. So Jake Garner, you might, those of you who are really avid fans, I know you are. Jake Garner was an international chair umpire. He's now running professional officiating for the USTA. We've moved him from chief umpire. He's an assistant tournament referee, and we're trying to fast track him to become our next US Open tournament referee.
Got it.
Oh, very cool. I just want to say a couple things here. First of all, we have 76 people on already. That's a great start to the call. And if you guys look to the side of this video, you can see where you can chat with us and you can ask questions. And for example, Sally has asked a question, I think is a good follow-up question. How many paid people are on your staff? Do you know approximately?
So we just had a reorg, Sally. So of approximately 70 in pro tennis, and that would include the revenue people and sponsorship, ticketing, hospitality, broadcast, digital, and then competition operations, player relations. So a total of 70 full-timers. To give you an idea, in the player services and ops area, we go from a year-round team of 4 to a seasonal team of about 125.
Oh, wow.
We really scale it. And one of the great things that Eric Budarak, the head of our player services, has done, he's gone to the colleges where we have so many, tennis players and offered them 3-week opportunities to come and join our US Open player services team. Practice courts, the gyms, the player dining, lounge areas. And that's been wonderful for them, but also really great for us. So we've got a good infusion of youth and passion, those that know tennis, and that's been a great success story.
Great.
That's good.
And we have one factoid. How many people do you think are on site a day working at the US Open across all areas?
Oh, it's got to be in the $2,500 person range, I'm guessing.
There's over 10,000 people a day working.
Oh my Lord. That's crazy.
Well, credentialed 25,000 people. They're all not there on the same time.
25,000 credentials.
It is like a little city.
Yes.
Operating at the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center for 3 weeks. It's immense.
That is amazing. Okay, we got another question from Tom, who wrote in from San Diego. I think this is a 2-parter. Okay.
Okay. So maybe one at a time, Pete. It's late. It's 8 o'clock at night.
One at a time. All right. The first question. The second
you can do them both. I think she'll remember. I think
I'm joking. All
right. 2 parts. The first one is, how do you pick the wild cards? The second one is, when you pick the seedings, are you going to take any of the results from Wimbledon, or are you going to ignore those results?
Okay. So on the first one, wild cards, it is a bit of a secret. We don't really share the committee's deliberations, but I'll give you some insight. From past practice, you will see that former US Open champions who asked for a wild card, they're pretty high on our list of priority. So a Kim Clijsters has asked in the past. Andy Murray asked. We got a few that are going to need them this year. So that's sort of, from a tournament director perspective, that goes right at the top of the list. Then it's the US Open. Our player development team does an extensive amount of work in evaluating the American players that should have an opportunity, their playoffs, a variety of different metrics. And I'm personally guided by our Martin Blackman, Kathy Rinaldi, Ken Kinnear, and Ola, who ultimately make some recommendations. And we have some outliers, but that's sort of the laneway that we stay in for wildcards.
So it seems from outside looking in, like there's a trade with the French and the Australians and the British.
Yeah, thank you, Gigi, and we do some trades. Martin makes those decisions. We do trades with the Australians and the French, and that's done on an annual basis. And I think that really works well for our American players, and of course, obviously, it's a good exchange for those from France and the Australians. Yeah. On the second part, the honest answer is we haven't decided.
Oh, so you have the option to ignore.
Well, we do and we don't. By contract, within the ATP ranking agreement, we do not. So
only Wimbledon has that right, correct?
Well, Wimbledon made its independent decision, for which had incredibly unique circumstances, and I respect and support their decision.
No, but I mean, Wimbledon seeds whoever they want. They always have.
No. So
no,
that's a long time ago. Yes.
Okay.
So we have two agreements. We have one with the ATP and the WTA. In the ATP's ranking agreement, we, the Grand Slams, are not permitted to adjust the seedings. Wimbledon hasn't done it for years. We just remember the history of it. Yeah. So that's the ATP agreement. The WTA agreement is silent as it relates to our ability to adjust the seedings. We did adjust the seedings. I've been with USTA for 6 years. We adjusted it once. Do you remember which person?
Probably seeded Serena, probably.
And you know why?
Yeah. Why?
She was coming back from maternity. And we didn't have enough. We didn't have a rule for that.
Right.
So we, the USTA, made that independent decision to make that adjustment for Serena to be seeded. So.
And how did she do? Do you remember?
In 2018, I think she did pretty damn well. I think she got to the finals. If we do remember.
So that wild card was merited.
I can forget.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. So look, personally, playing with seedings, and Gigi, you would know best. That is an area that you want to not touch because it's all performance, right? This is historic. Never experienced this before vis-a-vis Wimbledon's results. I feel horrible for the athletes. Those that performed well are not getting the credit. That's really, really unfortunate. Wimbledon's results should count at some level. But obviously, we are where we are today. It's July 25th. We just finished the entries. We'll see where we get to, but
I mean, you could make the argument that if there were the 48 Russians that were missing, that Kyrgios would have been in the finals, and whoever won the women's singles wouldn't have won it, right? I mean,
yeah. Look, we don't know. We don't know, right? We don't know. I want to give full credit to the athletes that performed in that competition. They earned the right. They proved it. They played their hearts out.
Yes.
It was a fascinating Wimbledon, though. I was glued to it.
Yeah.
It really was very, very exciting as a fan, and I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
All right, Gigi,
so the question is, since we're on the hot topic of politics, Jerry wants to know, Jerry from the United States.
Just Jerry, U.S.
Jerry, U.S. Given the increasing role politics is playing in tennis, what is your opinion of the recent developments? Like, talk a little bit more about how the USTA is, what their position was on the decision by Wimbledon, and because they went off on a lark, right? I mean, they didn't really consult anybody on it, and the tours obviously responded, but were the other Grand Slams upset, or you just kind of what's happening next?
I can tell you, I can share with you that Wimbledon was in full consultation with the Grand Slams, as was Roland Garros, as was the USTA. When the war hit, we had calls maybe once, twice a week. And let's just start from the beginning of the war, where the T7, the four slams, ATP, WTA, and the ITF immediately came together and established the sports global fundraising platform, Tennis Plays for Peace, in aid of Global Giving's Ukraine Crisis Relief Fund. We set that up. Each gave $100,000, and that was March. We decided, all of us, that the Russian, Belarusian athletes would be allowed to compete under a neutral flag. ITF suspended the Russian, Belarusian federations from competing in Davis Cup and Billie Jean King Cup. So that was the start. And anyone who thinks that Wimbledon didn't consult with the other slams, I'm here to say that's not factual. Each country makes its own decisions based on its own environment. The French were very much neutrality, and right from the get-go felt that the athletes shouldn't be discriminated against due to their government and their leaders' decisions. And they were singularly focused in that space. They also had an election. So there were different elements going on within the French government. It had, maybe if Macron had won, maybe it would have changed. Who knows? But that was the French. The Wimbledon team had an incredibly difficult situation based on the government giving directive guidance. Well, that's a very polite way of saying, we're telling you what to do. There were no other events that this was really going to impact. So they had a unique set of circumstances. And the government's directive guidance gave Wimbledon two pathways. One, to allow the Russian, Belarusian athletes to compete, but there was a full list of things that had to be declared. Or to not allow the Russian, Belarusian athletes to compete. I know that every hours and hours and hours were spent by the Wimbledon board, the CEO. They ultimately decided for their country, for their event, and they believed in the safety of the athletes, that they would not ask them to declare what they needed to. And they made their decision. We took the neutrality of we had time, right? We were fortunate to have a lot of time. But as the days marched on, that Roland Garros went on, really, in the United States, we had Indian Wells, Miami, we had Charleston, Houston. It was a non-event, regrettably. The war just wasn't at that level. We had the NHL playoffs going on. Russians were competing here. Americans were sympathetic. We're all gutted by the atrocities that are happening in Ukraine. We all can do our own part. But sport went on in this country. No one was banned. Government was not looking for any ban. And we had a board meeting on June 10th. And as Roland Garros finished and we saw how fans reacted, I made the recommendation to Lou Scheer, our new CEO, and Mike McNulty, our chair. It was time for the USTA to make a decision. Why? Because Wimbledon had made their decision. Tours had taken away their points. Players were frantic. They were having to redo their schedules. Now what? What if we have two Grand Slams back to back with no points? I wanted to take that tension out of the air for the athletes. Could focus on Wimbledon. It is what it is. But they could then know that they would be able to earn points at the US Open. And so fortunately, our board did make that decision on June 10th. I can tell you it was a spirited, emotional. There were tears in the room. It's a really, really difficult decision. But at the end of the day, we operate this event in the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center. Billie started the WTA that any athlete anywhere in the world would be eligible to compete by rank, irrespective of where they're from. And the majority of the board believed that the athletes were not responsible for the actions of their leaders. And so we have the Russian Belarusians playing. We are we will have a very, very ambitious Tennis Plays for Peace campaign at the U.S. Open. I'd like to share a bit more with you tonight, but I can't. But what I'll say, we have a multi-million-dollar fundraising goal. And really, if you turn on the news, the war in Ukraine is maybe the 5th or 6th news story. It's not in our mindset. And we know the First Lady from Ukraine was visiting, the First Lady here. The Ukraine wants us not to forget them, not to forget that the war is happening. So the U.S. Open is a massive global platform. We're going to use that platform to remind everyone that the people of Ukraine need us, and they desperately need financials, support. And so a lot more to come in that space.
And how are we supporting the Ukrainian players specifically? Like, what's happening with them? I assume they're not going back home. Like, what's happening with them?
So again, when the war first started, we offered our national training center in Orlando and in Carson, if anyone needed a place to train, including housing. We also had the Billie Jean King Cup tie in Asheville, and we were playing Ukraine. So no one really took us up on the offer between Indian Wells and Miami. I think that's everyone flowed through there. I think probably for the USTA, we made the offer. The biggest support we first gave was in Asheville. Normally, Gigi, you'll remember, it's USA versus country.
Yeah.
We changed the position right out of the gate to USA hosts Ukraine. They had no money. Their bank accounts were frozen. Federation couldn't support the team. We said no problem. Together with the ITF, we paid for everything.
Wow.
They were on the same floor with the US team.
How cool.
My staff, they didn't have support team members. My staff were members of Team Ukraine. They were dressed in the colors. They were on the bench, and they were cheering for them.
Oh, how cool.
And, we raised $250,000 for Tennis Plays for Peace. And on that Saturday night, although they almost beat us, which was crazy, talk about such strong-willed young women. That Saturday night, the teams had their respective dinners. They're all back in the hotel, and they were all playing, singing karaoke together. So that's what we've done to date. And again, we're open to them if they need support while they're now here in the U.S. for the U.S. Open Series. But I think best thing we can do is raise a lot of money and make them feel really welcome during their stay in New York.
Fantastic stuff. I just want to thank all the people watching right now, and there's lots of great comments and questions coming in. So I want to take one of those right now from Christy, because this is something I've been thinking about. Is there any consideration to the air temperature or court temperature in postponing a match? It seems to me, let me know if I'm crazy, Gigi and Stacey, in the last 4 or 5 years, I've never seen players sweat so much as I have at the U.S. Open. Is this just me, or is this actually a real thing now?
Well, Pete, there's no doubt. They sweat like there's no tomorrow, but I think that has to do with the technology of their fabrics.
Okay.
They're not like the cotton shirts that Gigi played in, right? And they're soaking up all that sweat.
Well, but when I used to play in New York was like fall. So it was like beautiful, right? I mean, it was in the 60s, and it seems like it just has gotten hotter.
Well, look, we see the Earth is definitely getting hotter. Certainly this heat wave that we are having, I've said to the team, we've got to make sure we have everything in place. So the rules of tennis, we have what's called the heat index, and it's a combination of the heat and the humidity. And when it hits a certain level, then the heat rule goes into place. And that basically means that breaks are allowed, that the athletes get a 10-minute break in between the second and the third for the women and between the third and fourth for the guys. We added additional cooling centers. We have 16 match courts at the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center. Where could they go to cool off in between those breaks when they're on the outer courts? So AC and those types of things were added. You'll see after it was the 2018 US Open, super hot. We have these cooling devices that are on every single court. We have 75 units, and they are blowing cool air. So players will sit down on the bench. They get their ice wraps around their neck, and then they have a cooling device happening. And if that combination of heat and humidity gets to a certain point, the doctors would evaluate it and we would stop play. We've seen that occasionally at Australia. We've never had that level at the US Open, but look, this isn't just me saying something that's out of a message book. The health and welfare of the athletes is the number one priority, along with the ball crew, along with the chair umpires, along with the fans. If it got to a point where the medical team felt it wasn't safe to play, then we would stop play. And I'm anticipating we're going to have a hot US Open. They're now these sort of portable ice baths. I know the NCAA used them. You got to worry about, cleaning them and sanitization. But Gigi, you will know the importance of getting in those ice baths when the body is internally on fire.
Yeah, definitely. We didn't have that technology when I was playing, but
no.
But we had ice, but no one thought to stick your whole body in.
Yeah. We actually have an ice truck on standby at the player hotel because we'll also find a lot of athletes will do the ice bath back at the hotel. So we bring in extra ice for that purpose.
That's cool. All right, so this is a good question that I'm going to follow up with, and this is Neil from Cherry Hill, but I also want to know the answer to this. So, okay, so it's third round of the Open, and you have men's and women's matches, and you have requests from, I'm sure, all the agents and all the players. Like, how do you decide what's your biggest challenge in scheduling, and how do you decide who goes on what court and who plays on Arthur Ashe Stadium at night?
Mm-hmm. That probably is the second most difficult part of the job. It really, really starts from when the draw is made, right? Particularly in singles. So that draw happens, and we look at where the top players, which we know need to be on Ashe from a revenue, a television, and a safety perspective. So that's one piece of the puzzle. Revenue is a big part of it. The US Open, it's a bake sale. Its job is to make the most amount of money so that we can deliver that money to our sections to help grow the sport and for us to operate the USTA. So you have revenue and broadcast. If the player requests, that all get into it. We'll actually start to model out. Let's take in past years, Serena. Well, we want Serena Monday night, open the big show. She plays Monday, Wednesday, and we look at Labor Day weekend. And you got to go night, day. You have to alternate it. Or she might get 2 nights in a row, but then you got to get a day. And we look at opening night, Labor Day weekend, semifinals. And we map kind of all of that out, kind of like forecasting how it might go. It doesn't always go according to plan, as we all know. That's the starting point. Certainly, players like Roger and Serena, particularly getting a little later in their years of playing. If you play on Monday, you get an extra day off versus Tuesday.
Right.
So, there's always a wrestle between Serena and Roger on Monday night. Geez, we should split them. Anyway, so it's complicated. It gets further complicated on that third round with doubles. Yeah, it does. So you have that. You have this master board. Up on it are who's coaching. You've got conflicts of doubles. It's a jigsaw puzzle. The great news today is every match court is broadcast on ESPN, from linear courts to ESPN Plus. So we no longer have that issue of, oh, we've got to get our Americans coverage. Every single match from juniors, wheelies, double singles gets covered. So that is out of the dimension. I had one other point I wanted to make. It was a good one, but I forgot.
How much say do the agents have?
Oh, look, I think it's the player. In my mind, Gigi is the players. Agents are messengers.
Right.
And my job is
sometimes
fair competition. Well, that was my other piece. Yeah, fair competition for all. Like that has to be that is the number one thing on my list. Two, what's in the best interest of the tournament for the mission. So agents, yeah, we have a great relationship with the agents. Come back to sort of management of the athlete and the circular group that impacts the athlete's performance. That's a good question. The other piece of this is equality. You'll never see us not having equality on Ash and Armstrong. We got 4 matches. You have 2 men, 2 women, and if the women play first on Monday night, they're going to play second on Wednesday night, or we might have, because of doubles or something, we might have a nuance where we have, 2 back-to-back days of women first, men second, but we flip them around, and that is another fundamental that we have.
I didn't know that. Is that across the Grand Slams? Do other Grand Slams do that?
You have to look at the other slams.
I don't think they do that, right?
Well, look, we have 2 sessions. So we have the luxury. Australia has 2 as well. Wimbledon doesn't have 2 sessions, right? They just have 1 session.
Right.
And obviously Roland Garros has dipped their toe in the water with night sessions for the first time.
How's that gone?
I don't think Amelie thought it went very well. But look, everything new is an experiment, and you certainly learn. And I know that they're looking at their scheduling, and sometimes the other reality is commercial. They did a deal with Amazon, and in this new session, that helped to pay for that new stadium, that new roof. The Grand Slams between all of us are probably $3 billion into renovations, and this all has to come from somewhere. And broadcast, sponsorship, ticket sales, that all helps to allow us to have these amazing stages, create these amazing experiences for the fans, as you talked about, and then obviously appropriately compensate our athletes.
So let me just jump in on, because I'm curious about this, because I know that Wimbledon just bought the golf park next door.
I'm so envious of Wimbledon.
Yes.
I'm so envious of Wimbledon.
I know. So I was going to ask is there any expansion plans, or are we like maxed out on our site?
So we're on public lands. We're on the public park, and we're pretty landlocked. There would need to be, anything's possible, right? We actually got there through Mayor Dinkins. So maybe one day we'll be able to expand outside our footprint. The only way to expand is to go up. But we're pretty locked in.
That's interesting. Go up. I don't know. I don't see that.
The way it was called parking lot A.
Ah, yes, I got you. But not more tennis courts, right?
You could do underground parking. You could have a hospitality area.
Yeah,
you could have player fitness. You could have courts on top.
Right. I got you. Yeah.
Example. In between Arthur Ashe and Louis Armstrong, for those that have been there, there's a wide space.
Yeah.
Originally, when it was all being designed, there was a massive connector between the 2 buildings. I got value engineered out, so that could be a possibility.
Interesting.
But we've got a lot of work to do in that space.
I see that. When you said up, I thought, it's like tennis courts in the 2nd story. I'm not seeing that, but
yeah. And Arthur Ashe Stadium is a special year. It's the 25th anniversary of the Arthur Ashe Stadium.
Right. My last Grand Slam.
Was it
27 years ago? Yeah, U.S. Open. For my last, I made the finals of the U.S. Open my last year, and that was my last Grand Slam.
That was a good way to finish.
Yeah, it was.
Awesome. Well, Stacey, first of all, I just want to thank you for all the amazing answers and the time you're giving us. And we just crossed over 100 people watching, so good job on our viewers. And
it goes to like 25,000 people till we email it tomorrow to 25,000 people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So a lot more people watch.
So we get a lot of views. Yeah.
Bill from Minneapolis is asking the elephant in the room. Novak Djokovic.
Novak Djokovic. Yep.
Can he play? Can he not play? What's the deal?
Yeah. Well, it's a great question, Bill, and I'm glad you asked it. Let's start with the U.S. Open's vaccination policy. And I think the first thing I would like to say, I would love for Novak Djokovic to be competing at the 2022 U.S. Open. He's an amazing champion, one of the greatest, if not the greatest. He's still got a long way to go in his career. And fans really enjoy and love watching Novak. We do not have a vaccination policy for the athletes. Novak is permitted to play the U.S. Open. We are not stopping Novak from playing. Kind of similar to Australia, but different. The federal government has particular laws. Our federal government, anyone who is a non-citizen across all industries and tourists cannot enter the United States unless they're vaccinated. It's a proclamation that the current administration put into effect shortly after they were went into power. So it's somewhat, it is out of our hands. And some might be asking themselves on the question, come on, you're the USTA. You could apply to the government for an exemption for Novak. I'm telling you, it's not possible. You have not seen any unvaccinated professional athletes come into this country to play on any professional sports team. The USOPC, we just had the World Athletic Championships. Every single one of those athletes was vaccinated. So we keep our network close. Our head of security, including biosecurity, Mike Rodriguez, is on weekly, if not daily, calls with other professional sports leagues, conversations with government, any chance there's a change in the policy. Right now, we're not hearing it. I've been in touch with Novak's team to let them know that we really want Novak to play. The CDC does have exemptions. They're on the CDC website. And I know Novak tried those exemptions for Indian Wells and Miami, wasn't successful. Doesn't mean that he may or may not try. And doesn't mean that he may not be successful. But ultimately, our federal government, Homeland and Security, CDC, has to give him an exemption to get in the country. And when he does, if he does, then he'll be playing the U.S. Open.
That's very clear. Thank you for that.
Good answer. Yeah.
That's a tough one.
It is.
And with so much history on the line for Novak and Rafa and Roger, it's great for the fans too, right? And I can tell you, the athletes want him in. They want him in the field. They want to win the U.S. Open, competing and beating Novak, not by having him on the sidelines.
Yes.
Good All right. Point. Well, we have answered that question. A lot of people ask that question.
I know.
Okay, so this one I'm going to ask because it's just appropriate. So David from St. Louis wants to know, is there a way to increase the crowd size for doubles, semifinals, and finals? It looks bad to have so many empty seats, especially since there are so many avid doubles fans.
Yep.
What can we do? It's been like 40 years of trying to figure this out.
Yeah. We've made some improvements, but still a long way to go. So I'm not going to rest on what we have done. But look, the gates open hours before the singles match. The doubles finals are going on, right? We allow everyone to come into Arthur Ashe and sit in the lower bowl. Those are thousands of dollars in tickets. The singles, those that have bought the tickets for the singles should have the right. We say, nope, we're going to let anybody who's on the grounds come in. We have found that the lower bowl does fill up for the doubles finals. That's been a win. We can't fill up 24,000 seats.
No.
But broadcast can capture that intimate, and I know the doubles players have enjoyed it.
Does it have to be Sunday?
It doesn't have to be, but by the time you do the doubles draw on the Friday of first week, just playing out the number of matches, and then those that are still playing singles, you got mixed men's and women's dubs to
wait. The doubles draw is made Friday of the first week, or Friday before the tournament?
No, I'm sorry. That's my dream. Sorry, that's my dream. That's
Friday
that just came out very organically. No, it's not.
I wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
We start playing doubles on Wednesday.
No, I think it's done on the Monday. I think
that makes more sense.
Like for doubles, I don't think the doubles draw should be done until Friday of the first week. So everyone we lose half of the draw in singles after Thursday. And then you could do a sign in and do the draw on Saturday. So those who lose in singles perhaps would want to sign up for dubs versus having, it's too tough to play singles and doubles. It was too tough in your day and it's too tough today. You saw the number of players pull out at Wimbledon, right?
Yeah. It's harder by the day.
Yeah.
All right. I have a question.
I thought I asked. All right.
I'm glad you asked. Look at doubles.
It wasn't my question. It was someone else's question.
More people play doubles than singles,
yes. Right? Isn't that crazy?
And look when Venus and Murray were playing, I can tell you I was tuning in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huge.
And you kind of need the combination of the doubles specialists who are phenomenal, but also mixing in some of those top singles players because that's what fans want. And that's how we fill up the stadiums. Give fans what they want.
Yes. Good point. Okay. Speaking of give fans what they want, you're probably not going to like this.
Uh-oh.
I want more controversy.
Uh-huh.
And one thing that I'm noticing happening all over the place is that you go to tournaments and it's just these machines calling lines. Is that going to happen again at the U.S. Open? And what do you think about that? Taking the human element out of it, it kind of takes part of the game. Love or hate Kyrgios, people kind of like to watch him go crazy. And, he basically makes up stuff to argue about. There's not even much to argue about anymore in the game. But, what do you think about that? With the lines, it's automatically, it's in, it's out. This takes a big part of the game out of it, to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, look. So let's start with technology and the lines. I'll go back to what I said at the beginning. The fairness of the competition is number one on our list. And I think it's not fair to the athletes with so much on the line, Pete. Ranking points, their contracts, how it impacts their next year of getting into slams and their seedings and money. If the technology is there, we should use it. By default, the pandemic accelerated the utilization of automated line calling. And we had this discussion. We liked the challenge. When we first brought in electronic line calling in 2006, the dimension of having the 3 challenges and fans getting involved, that's pretty suspenseful. But at the end of the day, we've seen tough matches won or lost by an incorrect line call. And that's just not fair to the athletes. So on that particular one, the integrity of the competition, we fell on that side of the ledger. The drama for the fans, we still have the review. We are going to introduce what's called video assist referee. We've had it for the last couple of years in the referee office. It's additional camera feeds coming in if there's something going on and, players acting up, gets fined. The player comes in. Oh, no, I didn't do that. Well, yeah, you did. You know, so watch the video replay.
Oh, interesting.
I want to see that.
Yeah. So we do it for training for the chair umpires, but also we have it now as a record. We've had situations where an athlete might have said some things that they shouldn't have on a court. It was caught on court, and then they get fined.
Like the golfers.
Yeah. So we're actually going to have that video available to the referee on Arthur Ashe this year. So let's take the Djokovic situation in 2020, where he accidentally hit a linesperson. The referee may or may not have seen that. They could have been in their office. They could have been, they just might not have taken their eye off the television screen. When the referee goes out, chats with Novak, chats with the chair umpire. Ultimately, the chair umpire's decision stands. Now, at least, the referee will have an opportunity to review the video footage right there on court to confirm what either the athlete is saying or the referee saw. So that's where technology, in my opinion, is benefiting the integrity of the competition and the experience. Other sports have it. So that's the drama for me is the athletes. They produce the drama. And then we take Nick. The fans they like the good guy and the bad guy, right? We just love it. Like we love that controversy. I think there's a point to it, Pete. When you berate an official who doesn't make a ton of dough and the message it sends to our kids.
I agree.
So I think there's a line. Smashing their rackets. I don't think we want that for our youth. So as the national sport governing body, we're trying to balance, we're not WME, we're not out there, but I don't want quiet plays either. So it's trying to find the right balance where the athletes can be themselves, expressive, get angry, but don't cross the line where it's really unsportsmanlike and sends a really negative message to our youth.
Okay, I have a follow-up then talking about that. Then
wait, can I say something? I just want to give the player perspective on this. I feel like the electronic line calling system is the best thing ever happened to tennis from a player standpoint, because I can't tell you how berserk I used to go with bad line calls. I mean, I think I'd be at least $150,000 richer from fines that I wouldn't have had to pay for just going berserk over bad line calls. So I think it has been great for the game from a player standpoint.
As a fan, though, I want to see you go berserk, Gigi. That's what I like. But
I would go berserk for other reasons, but not for the bad line call that affects the end of the match, right? The result of the match.
I do want to ask you about this, though. If the U.S. Open's planning on doing anything on this, when Nick was playing Tsitsipas, he was every point talking to his box right up until Tsitsipas served. And I thought that was completely unfair. Is that something that's being flagged? Is there anything ever going to be done about that? I mean, the guy is talking loud to his box when his opponent's trying to bounce the ball and serve. How long is he going to be able to get away with stuff like that? Because I do think that especially crosses the line.
Well, you may have read the ATP is trialing off-court coaching. We are going to have off-court coaching at the U.S. Open as well on
off-court. What does that mean?
Yep. Meaning... So Nick could talk to his box, but so could Tsitsipas.
Oh,
so
he's talking. He's having a conversation, just like lamenting. No, I stink. Oh, I hate this. Blah blah. Blah. Right as Tsitsipas is bouncing the ball, it's not even really a conversation. He just basically wants to talk until his opponent serves. I think it's a total tactic that he was getting away with all out throughout Wimbledon, and I think it was most egregious against Tsitsipas, where he just was routinely talking to his box right up until Tsitsipas is getting ready to serve, and Tsitsipas was very upset.
The guy has no respect for the game. So why would that surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me. I'm just thinking that something should be done about it. I don't think that.
So Gigi, as a player, when it gets to the point that the athlete is disturbing the other athlete.
Yes, terrible.
And the chair umpire has to step in. Obviously, that chair umpire made the decision. This is where it's not black and white. It's kind of subjective.
Okay.
Is he playing the Open, Nick?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
No, I heard some rumors that he was going to retire because he was like,
oh, geez.
He made the finals and that was it. He was too tired. Well, he did say he was like going to take a break because it was too much.
As far as I know, he's playing the Open.
That's good.
Tomorrow could be different.
All right. Any follow up on Kyrgios, or should we go to the next subject?
I'm done.
We got about 10 minutes.
Thank you,
Stacey.
Stacey.
Okay. So this is an interesting one. A little bit not so controversial, hopefully. This is Jessica from Austin. She says she knows that building the pipeline of female teaching pros is an initiative for the USDA, but can you speak from experience the best way of attracting and maintaining more women in the tennis industry space?
Well, I do think whether it's the tennis industry space or in any industry, look at it. It takes sponsors, not mentors. It takes sponsors and people in leadership positions to give opportunities for women and people of color, for minorities. And so we need that education and commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion at the C-suite, at the decision-making table, to say, hey, Stacey Allister, she should be the head pro of the Welland Tennis Club. I know she's only 18 years old. I know she's a female. I know she hasn't gone to college and played tennis, but I believe in her to be a teaching pro. And that could be across any industry. Then we need to just build that pipeline and give them the education so that they can have an opportunity to get the experience to then get that nod. During this U.S. Open Series year, we are doing a female coaches initiative at most of our events, inviting female coaches out. There'll be education, giving an opportunity to meet with other pros on the WTA and the ATP, and creating opportunities. Getting equality is a deliberate intention with quantifiable metrics. We may not hit them, but be transparent and keep working to achieve the opportunities. Like Gigi and, the pro side, traveling the world with kids, boy, that's a tough one. I don't have an answer to that. I did that in my job, At the WTA, I traveled 150 days a year. And my husband, Mr. Mom, he was the CEO of the household, taking care of Jack and Alex. So if you're going to have a family, you definitely need a partner who will allow you to make those travel and those sacrifices. That's a lifestyle choice.
Okay, very good. Now we are getting questions about tickets. So I'm going to show this.
God.
How
Ticketmaster?
How do they just Ticketmaster? Is that how they should do everything?
USOpen.org.
Yeah, and then it sends you to Ticketmaster, right, or something?
Yeah. And look, everyone has this notion that we're sold out. We're not. There are lots of tickets available.
It's the easiest ticket in tennis, really. No offense. I mean, it's one of the most obviously greatest sporting events.
It's the largest annual sporting event in the world.
Yeah. But there's a lot of tickets. Like whereas Wimbledon, it's like impossible to get tickets, right? Or
when you think about it, you've got a 24,000 seat Ash. We only ticket half of Louis. We have grounds passes. And then of course there's Fan Week where it's free to come and watch qualies, legends, practice sessions, concerts, Arthur Ashe Kids Day. So everyone can come to the U.S. Open. I know sometimes we have this that it's too expensive, but Fan Week is a great way for those that are price sensitive.
And then like Thursday too, like is it like Wednesday and Thursday of the second week? There's no tickets there's no tickets for outside courts or Louis Armstrong, so you can just go and watch the matches in the outside court. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, there's still a small grounds pass, but it's not expensive.
Yeah, like on Thursday. I thought Thursday, the second.
We don't
Thursday...
have that community day anymore. No, we don't.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But usopen.org, that's the place to go. Yeah. And I tell everybody, buy a ticket in the prom. It's the cheapest. And if you're a diehard, you've got a seat in Ash, so you can see the best. You see, if you want your favorite player, you can get on every other stadium with your prom ticket.
Yeah, those are like $50 to $100 depending on the round, right? So it's fairly affordable.
Yeah.
All right, I think we have. Do you have any questions from the comments? Because I have one more.
You want to ask one more? I think one more question is good. We're getting towards 9 o'clock.
So yeah, this one's this is kind of very easy. But like, what's a favorite tennis book you ever read? Not Mark's.
Not Mark's. Yeah.
So like somebody read Billie Jean's or Andres. Have you read all those?
I've read Andres. I loved Andres. Loved it. I have to probably say Billie Jean, have it right over here.
Precious Privilege.
Yeah.
What's it called?
All in her recent autobiography.
Yeah.
But I did love Andres as well.
An easy question.
That was very easy. But I haven't been asked that very often. So that's good.
Well, this was fantastic. I think it was very interesting. And thank you so much for your time. We loved it.
Good. Well, look, thanks for doing this and promoting tennis, and for everyone who joined in. Thank you. And look, I'm that kid who was given an opportunity to play. So everything in my professional life has come from the sport of tennis. Why do I get up and still do this every day? I just want to have an opportunity to have other people to experience this great sport. So please, spread the word. Get more people to play. Gigi, thanks for everything you're doing. And I really hope that if you can't join us in New York, please watch ESPN, drive up our ratings, and everybody stay safe. And this is going to be a historic Open. You never know what's going to happen. I couldn't believe 2021, and I can't wait for this year's event.
All right, thank you. Everybody. Thanks, Stacey.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.